Now, good part of it is that what we're going to look at today is same thing we just looked at in Android Studio. So you should understand the general idea, and then we'll go from there.
I got JC's. That's one that he usually uses.
Which means I have Liam.
It's the thousands of Xcode ones.
And I'm gonna
No, did not mean to do that.
Your fault.
copy down this to have it handy.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Now this is going to be the same principle as before. We're looking at methods. Here, in the Swift programming language, they call it functions. So here's an example. We got a function, and we'll add our numbers. And then you see there's a by here, n1 colon int, n2 colon int. What do you think n1 and n2 represent? Numbers, integers that are parameters. Remember the concept of passing in something into a method? And this right here is going to return it. Okay, so I'm going to start a new project.
Oh my.
And we'll choose single view app. And we're going to calculate interest. Then I'll click next. Click create.
There's already a calculate interest on here. I have to name it something different.
Really?
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, I think we've done this already once where we didn't use functions. Now we'll click on main storyboard to bring up our design, just like before. Now we're going to have 3 items we're going to bring in. Principal, rate, and time. So I'm going to have my 3 labels I'll drop on here. I'll have my 3 text fields. Have a button for calculate. Have another label down here for our answer. And I guess I'll use a label again. Or no, I'm going to use a text field to return the answer. Okay, so this label here, again, if you click it twice, you can type in what this should be. This will be our principal. This will be our rate. This will be our time. The button we want it to say calculate. And this will have it say interest. Now we want to click our 2 circles up here to bring up the code. I'm going to hide the far left panel, far right panel. Give myself a little bit more room. Right below UI user interface view controller, view controller, you want to click your principal text field, hold down your control, and drag and drop it, that location, and give it a name. We'll call it, it's a text field, so TF underscore principal. I'm going to click the rate, hold down my control, drag and drop it. I'll call this TF underscore rate. I'll click my time and hold down my control and drag and drop it. And I'll call this TF underscore time. We also want to bring in the interest here. So I hold down my control, drag and drop it. Call that TF underscore interest. Then down here before this last curly brace, we're going to hold down our click our button, or click our calculate button, and then we're going to hold down the control and drag and drop it right in this location, lit up, and I'll call this button click. I want it to be an action, and I want it to be a type is a UI button, user interface button, and then click connect. Here's the moment of truth. Run it. We'll see how many of you are broke.
There's super. Super.
Did you get it?
Oh, definitely.
Everybody good?
Mine's not launching just yet. And mine's not. She
That'd be unusual. You'd be the only one working then. Those don't launch.
Let me see. Mine's. Oh, yeah, it launched. Mine launched.
Yours launched. Everybody launched. Okay.
Really, everyone's launched.
Darius didn't launch.
See, now that I've had yours launch.
No.
If I made a new project and did completely what I did, I wonder if it would work. That is actually really neat. So this goes over
see what you're doing. There's something you're doing different than they're doing.
Why are you doing it?
Like
Exactly what they're doing.
That's actually really cool.
Has to be something different.
Stick him in there.
And then have you ever worn it on your iPhone?
I could have written stuff on. I would get like
Yeah.
just falls off.
Click this.
It's just like smacking.
Oh, and I also created a Gmail account that I use to play online. I played one person on iOS 2 with the 3 rounds. I won 2 and only 1.
That's cool.
There it is. We have 3 of those, so we have 4 computers in total. So we got that selected.
Interesting. I've never played on this because I'm terrible.
I don't mind because I think it's funny to see some of the situations.
I'm probably like the worst game there is. There's only like a few games, but I play a lot.
Are you renaming these?
I'm good at first person.
I named
They're not online. I can never keep.
It's not.
See, I didn't name them.
I'm good at self.
Maybe that was the
There's no self. There's a lot of things.
There's one round. The second one.
thought there was a here.
With all the freezing.
Oh, there's S. What I'm doing is I'm going to this option right here. And you have to click each one. Click that and hold on with control. There you drop it
There is no
right here.
because you choose it.
And
So imagine her super
oh no, you're not making
You get destroyed.
And this was TF underscore.
He is with Ultras. But he was
I call it
Ultras.
That's what.
Lemon. He just needs you.
Yeah. Well, Walgreens is
See how there's just one here?
so
That's strange.
the limit on that may be a little bit higher than
Go ahead and do the other two.
So what if he goes like super saiyan? And then he just like Dragon Ball Ultra. Super saiyan.
What, three?
That's ridiculous, dude.
Super Saiyan D, majority.
So just one
They
here.
have like the longest name. Super Saiyan Ultra is the same product. And then they give like Ultra Instinct.
Or the this like the entire series. It's just not even first. It's just a massive muscle.
He's just like what's that one that's the cosmics one? Alien X. He's just like that.
You still have to see you have one referencing outlet there.
It's like a big muscle of hair.
Over the bar, right?
And like
Okay, then
his hair.
click the button.
Because that's
Just make sure there's just one
Just imagine.
just one there. Try to run that.
So blue is Super
Like I said, I'm trying to watch you the way you're creating that. But if you see it happen, just go over there and delete the expert connection, or maybe delete both of them and reconnect. That's easy to fix it. I'm still not sure why that's happening. If you were using the same machine every time, I would say it's a machine. But it has to either be your login. Well, no, because you're not logging into. I don't know. Okay.
That's fixed on my computer when
Everything's okay. It's fine.
So now we're going to put our code in. Now here I need to declare. I got a little cheat sheet here. Okay, so we're going to bring in
our
variables. So we got our var principal, rate, time, and interest.
I probably can do it all online.
I think you can. Wasn't sure when I started typing. Double. And I'll put interest on a separate line here.
Variable principal was never used. Consider replacing that.
Okay. So then we're going to say principal is equal to and double, and then our TF underscore principal dot text and put exclamation, I think. Doesn't like something. Double not unwrapped.
No, it just looks like it's getting mad at you. What do you mean to use?
Let me get rid of that.
I used it, and it just says use of unresolved identifier.
It, like I clicked.
Oh, it's because I misspelled principal. No, it's fine.
Yours is fine?
Yeah.
How
No, never
strange.
mind. Yeah, it gives me a.
It says like use it in front of the parentheses, so it's like exclamation mark, parentheses, exclamation mark.
Double! Exclamation mark.
I guess so. Double exclamation mark.
Whoa!
I just lowercase double and it's fine. Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
So then I'll say rate
type string.
is double TF underscore rate. Exclamation, close parentheses, exclamation. It's got to be the stupidest thing ever to have all those exclamations.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Cannot invoke initializer. Oh, I didn't do it dot text.
You see, I'm gonna bop you upside down.
And then time is equal to double TF underscore time dot text, exclamation, close parentheses, exclamation. Interest is going to equal to principal times rate times time. And now we want to write it back out. So we'll say TF underscore interest dot text is equal to string
Didn't do interest
interest. I'm going to stop the current app.
I thought you were going to say recording.
That's fine.
The what?
I thought you were going to say recording.
Oh.
Yeah, we're done. Okay.
Then I'll run this. Put in 5,000 here, 0.03 times 10 years, I think we're using. And click calculate, and it gives us 1,500. I'll let you get to that point where if you're still typing that in, you get a copy.
I messed up on my timing. So everything is wrong.
I'm almost getting
Everybody got that?
Yep.
Okay. So now, up here, we could have a separate function. So let me come over here. I'll type function, and what do I want to call this? Calculate underscore interest by principal P, which is a double, comma, see principal rate, R for rate, double, and T for time, and that's going to be a double. Then do a beginning quote or beginning brace and closing brace. Now up here, we want to declare interest. It's going to be a double. And we'll say interest is equal to principal, which was P, times R times T. And then I'm surprised the little red thing, this things are flying up all over the place.
Because you're still typing.
Okay. And then I'll say TF underscore interest.
It keeps doing this. The
Dot.
autocorrect keeps filling in things I don't want to.
Yeah. The other day I just wouldn't let me type in what I wanted. I don't think the code completion here is as good as some of the other ones.
Yeah, Android Studio is way better with it.
Yeah.
Is there a way to turn it off? Because I'd rather just type it out.
I'm sure there is. I have no clue where it's at. I'll look after I assign you guys a project. I'll look and see if I can find it.
Okay, because it's so annoying. It did like some random command of P, typed in P, and then did the asterisk, and it just changed it to like perfect.
Here's editor show completions. I bet that's it right there if you want to shut it off. Well, show completions. I'm already having
Just showed me.
completions.
They're,
Huh. I don't know. I'll Google it. Doesn't jump out at me where it's at up there. Now, down here, we have some lines of code that we don't necessarily want to run anymore. This interest, we don't want to calculate. And this TF interest, we don't want to calculate. We actually don't even need interest declared down here. Let's see if I can remember how to call it. I think you just type calculate interest, and it comes up by double, and then all those. So you can type in your principal, and over here rate.
this is why I didn't want. Okay, tell me how to do it. So I
Of
can-
time. You figure out how to shut it off?
Yeah, you did. Thank you. That's so annoying.
Now if I run that, see if it worked. And we got 5,000.
Can I get the VSCP filter there?
I'll show it here in a second. I was making sure it was working. This is how we changed it.
Principal are we supposed to do P equals principal, or is it just by?
It didn't force me to. I thought it was weird.
Yeah.
It's not exactly standard. What I did is I started typing this in, calculate interest, and see what it pops up with.
Yeah. I had to delete all of that.
Yeah. So I
Whatever there is.
well, what it does is where it says double here, if you click in there and just start typing principal, then you can go and click the next one here, type rate, and you click the next one here and you type time. So it's kind of a user-friendly. The little box, the little round rectangles there, rounded off rectangles, are where you put in your parameters. Now that I got it working, I'm going to go ahead and just delete this code altogether down here, this commented out code.
What are you? Who are you?
I am me. You are me.
I want to see where. I can't even see my main story.
Can't see your main storyboard?
There we go, guys.
You got it?
Sorry.
Okay.
Man, get it for numbers.
Why is it behind that? I think everything's gone. I don't know where my code is.
Let me see.
This is all there is now. I don't know why.
JC.
It won't take me back.
I want to put it in. This is then I'm gonna kill you. Then we're gonna find them. The guy's gonna go find guys and eat some fries. JC.
Why is it there? I just exited out of the editor and it brought me back like this.
So,
You put main storyboard, does it also bring up the
yes.
I wonder if I went back over and clicked it, if I have to stupid stuff again, see? Not my code.
That's interesting.
I don't know why. So I don't know why it's doing that.
Code there. I can shut off the left panel now. Yeah, there's.
Are you sure? It's not all.
That's what you defined.
Yeah, but nothing else is here. See, like my button, all that isn't here. It's like manual. Okay, well, if I would have just done that in the first place.
Which one do you choose?
I went up here and clicked on this because it was on manual. And you just click automatic.
Oh.
Okay.
That you must have it locked down so you can only see just that segment of code.
Weird.
Okay, so that's calling a function where it doesn't return anything. We call the function, it calculates our interest, and writes it out to the screen right there.
That's it for everybody. Okay, so.
Now we're going to, and if you need to take a picture of that, take a picture of that. Because again, for your project, you can do it either way. You can call it with nothing returned, or you can call it returning something.
Okay, picture taken.
Okay. Well, now we're going to modify it. We're going to calculate interest, but we're going to return something. And I got a little cheat sheet here. It says you use the little arrow here, and then
So
double.
To delete anything?
We'll clean up a little bit. Yeah. Now we're still calculating interest, so that still needs to be there. This interest is equal to P times R times T. That still needs to be there. We're calculating interest. But now instead of writing it to the screen, I'm going to do a return. And then I'll return interest. I'm going to cut that piece of code out there, that tf interest dot text, because I don't want that there anymore.
I know it.
So that's what our new function looks like.
I don't. This was up different because you don't have as much pull out as I did, so I thought it was a whole new line for that double. I put it down and jacked everything up.
Yeah. I was confused in that part because mine was just on one line.
Yeah, I made mine bigger so you guys could see it, and so I could see it. Now these do not all have to be the same data type. They do not have to all be doubles. You could return an integer. You could return a string, some sort. You could return, whatever is possible, Boolean, and so forth. You always have to have a return, and then whatever you're returning, variable or a calculation or whatever. I didn't have to actually have a separate variable declared here, interest. I could have just returned P times R times T. Again, this is a fairly simple example. It doesn't really show you the true power of functions, which we'll see later on, just like in Android Studio. Now down here, we need to change this. I'm going to, and I'll do this on two separate lines. I'm going to uncheck interest. Oh, I hate that. Silly delete of MacBook. Okay, so I want interest unchecked there, or uncommented. And then we're going to calculate interest. So I'm going to say interest is equal to, and now I'm going to bring this calculate interest back up in the same line as that.
I need to go down a lot more.
Those aren't on separate lines. That's one line. Then I want to say tf underscore interest dot set text. I'm wrong language. Text equals. And then we want to do a string. Is it S string or str? My cheat sheet. String. And we're converting interest. Now what this is doing is it's getting principal rate and time from the screen. It's passing them into that function. So it's passing those parameters. This calculate interest here is calling this code up here. This code checks to make sure that what you're sending in as parameters are doubles. So if you try to pass in a string, it'd give you an error. And it goes through here, calculates it. When it does the return, it returns it as a double, because that's what we have in the return data type here. If you have an int here, that means you return an integer.
I'm having an error.
This
Never
is
mind. I know why.
And then it returns it, sets it equal to interest, and then does a string, and then writes it to the screen. Now we're going to change this Remember what we did last time? We had one for the add 1%, 2%, and 3%. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to go back to my design here. You can go back to the looks like the lines of code to do the maybe I'm lying to you. Oh, I got to turn the panel back on. The lines of code gives you more space here you can work. Yeah, and we need to add more labels. And I want that label to say interest plus 1%.
I'm gonna rage quit all over your thing.
Whoa. I don't like the sound of that.
Good.
Yeah, that's interesting. There. Interest plus 2%.
Are we the only ones in this class? Or are there people online?
Heather.
No, she's not in this one anymore.
What?
Remember?
We talked about this.
Clearly, if I say what, I kind of don't remember.
Yeah, on the run.
You know,
Not. I don't think we have any kind of control over that.
Why do they not have control?
Basically, why wouldn't they have Kleenexes?
Okay, fair point.
What they can do is, how many hours a day are we here?
3.
You guys are 3 and 3.5, so 6 total, right? So by programming it, not giving control to the rooms, by programming it, what can they do? Is it 24 hours a day minus 6? What can they do the other 18 hours? Auto not run to air. Maybe have a different, so they can save a ton of money that way. So, I remember one of the places I worked at. I arrived early one morning. It was hotter than you can imagine, because they almost shut the air conditioning off during the night because there's nobody there. So why air condition the building when nobody's there? So in response to your question, that's why they program it. They actually hire companies to do that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I decided yesterday I was gonna start bringing my jacket because
Then again, you're pretty warm compared to Zallying. What are you saying, JC? One thing we had
yeah, I was freezing yesterday. I forgot to bring my jacket this morning though. I'll come back down to that code here in a minute. Remember, we need to create our connections to our new text fields we dropped on. So I hold down my control, drag and drop it there. I'll call this TF underscore interest 1. I'm going to click this, drag it. I'm not going to drag it. What am I doing? Holding down the wrong thing. Hold down the control and drag it. TF interest 2. I wonder if this is like if I click here, what in the world did I just do?
Oh no.
Oh, I dragged it and dropped it on the other one. Okay. See, I'm wondering if this is what happens with yours. Because I'm holding down the control, and when I go to drag it, you see how if I have this highlighted? It isn't? Okay.
That's not what happened. Want me to be frank with him? Or you want me to be
Frank's my brother. You want to be my brother?
No.
Okay, so I've created the connections on those. So now down here, shut off that side panel. We're going to be calling this function over and over. So I'm going to take these two lines of code that I have here. I'm going to copy them. Come down here, and I think it's Command V. Command V. Command V.
C that you.
No, I just highlighted and did right click and did a Control or I did a copy. I don't know.
JC, I don't have a mouse.
Well, guess whose fault that is?
There's a mouse behind you if you want.
Yeah, no, I don't have that like USB thing. JC took the one that
Oh.
you handed me. JC, hush.
There you go.
I didn't hit you.
Thank you.
Okay, now what?
There is a way to right click on the little pad there. I just have no clue.
Yeah, and sometimes you get it to work and sometimes most of the time I don't.
Yeah, but then whenever I mess up, you're like, oh, I got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of spacing just because I can't tell things apart.
Awesome.
Now, I named the second one TF interest 2 or 1, I think. 2 and 3.
How many times we paste it?
You need 3 more. So you need a total of 4 calls. And down here, for the rate, I'm going to put times or plus 0.01. And this I'll put plus 0.02. Down here I'll put plus 0.03. See if it gives me any kind of errors.
Sorry. That wasn't volunteer. Some is on the floor.
If I stop my emulator and run it.
Why did we have to put all
And we got, I don't remember what we had, 1,000, 10,000? 10,000.03 for 10 years.
Did
You click calculate.
But it said
And just like we saw back in Android Studio, you see if you have interest at 3%, if you're able to increase it by 3%, that would give you twice the amount of money after 10 years.
okay, there we go.
Here's code.
And then the rate plus 1.
Here,
What?
whenever you say like cash or phone number and it's a 0, do you say O or do you say 0?
Depends on the mood.
Now this doesn't really show the true benefit of this, like I said, because this is one line of code that we're doing up here. But imagine if you had 100 lines of code up here, and you're wanting to call it multiple times. Well, you could repeat that 100 lines of code everywhere you call it. That's one option. Or you can put it up there in a function, and then you just call the function, and it's in one place. And then if you want to change that code, for some reason the logic changes on it, then you go and change it in one place in your program, and it's propagated throughout the rest of the code.
What is
We're gonna see coming classes where we use like a for loop, while loop, and we'll be calling that over and over. And so without that function capability, it just makes it kind of clumsy, kind of tedious. Sometimes you can put some of your code just up in a separate function just for readability purposes. so it isn't all in one big piece there. Not to mention that, but if I program other items on my app, I can have them call that same function. If I put it right here in this button click, then I don't have it in the other location. Is there any questions on that?
I had one. I forgot.
Oh, my goodness.
Let me bring up the documentation.
Are we doing the force times mass again?
Yeah, it'll be force times mass. Swift language reference. And language guide
I don't want your
functions. This talks about defining and calling functions. And here's some more examples. You see they always start with function, F-U-N-C. You got your name, whatever you want to call it. Can't have spaces, can't start part with a number, all our standard items. This is passing in one parameter, a string called person. And it's going to return a string. And so then this concatenates hello plus the name you passed in with and then concatenates exclamation, returns it. So then you just simply call greet, and notice that they have person colon, so the parameter name colon. Though it's interesting that first one we didn't need it. Here's functions without parameters. If you're not passing any parameters, you just need beginning parentheses and closing parentheses. You don't need parameters. And here's again a return. Here's a function with multiple parameters. You got person colon string, already greeted colon bool. So this is passing in two parameters. One's a string, person's name, I'm assuming, and whether they've been greeted or not. And then within your code here, you're checking to see if it's already greeted, return this, otherwise return this. You can have multiple returns in there if you have like a nested if-else type statement. Yeah.
What is it?
Now you do not have to return anything, and we saw this. What causes it to be returned is where you have that arrow at the end and you tell it the data type. Here we're just calling the function and we're not returning anything. So, and we looked at both examples of this today in our code. I have no clue why you'd want to do this.
I don't. I was looking at that like,
It says the return value of a function can be ignored when it's called. Well, if your purpose is you're writing a function to return something, why would you ignore what's returned? But I guess you can ignore it. Interesting.
What's the point in the first place of it if you're going to ignore it?
It could be so you can have a generic function that will handle multiple situations. Like sometimes it'll return this piece you want, sometimes it'll return this piece you want, sometimes it'll return this piece you want.
Oh, so that,
Yeah.
okay.
I'd probably write it as three separate functions in that case, but I suppose in the right circumstances it makes sense to just ignore the return value you don't want. Okay, functions with multiple return values. You notice here there's an arrow, and this returns two values, min and max. And we're going to expand upon this, so we're going to look at an example that returns two values. For example, remember the quadratic formula? Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a?
No.
Yeah? That gives you two answers, doesn't it? So you're gonna want to return 2 answers, and that's one of the things we'll look at during next class is how do you program that in. Optional tuple. We haven't talked about tuples, so don't worry about that. That's probably all the exciting stuff for now. Like I said, we're going to explore this further. You can have nested functions. Okay, so the assignment is to program in force is equal to mass times acceleration and use a function of some sort. You can return a value or just call it and have it write it to the screen. That's your choice.
Okay. So the first thing we did was calling it, right?
Just called it. It wrote to the screen directly at that point. Like I said, we're going to expand upon this in the next class where we'll want to definitely return it because then we can.
If I wanted to, remember calling it, can I write it to a label instead? Because in the deal you could. I kind of wanted to write it to a label so you can't change the value.
Let's see. You can. But I don't know if you have to do anything special like exclamations or something like that. Let's see. Label, drop it here. Okay, then I want to create my connection. Okay. I'll call it LB underscore result. We'll go down here. And I'll say LB underscore result dot text equals string interest. And run it. And 5,000, 0.03, oops. $10 years. Interesting.
Which one is it printing? Is it printing interest plus 3?
Yeah, that's one I put in there.
Oh, okay. So you can do that.
Oh yeah.
I want to delete this text.
Oh, I didn't have my label big enough. That's why I cut it off.
How do you delete?
You highlight it and you press delete. But then you probably have to delete the connection. Maybe. Anyway.
I hadn't done it yet.
Oh, you hadn't connected it? Okay, you're fine then. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here.